Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Mr. Vincible, and welcome to a game called Dagon. Now, I have been on a very Cthulhu-esque tripping experience recently, and I've had this game forever. I'm pretty sure this is one of those 5-cent games that I bought when it was on some sort of super sale, or I may have just gotten this for free as part of PlayStation's things. Either way, we're going to go ahead and give this a crack. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to processing through locations along with the plot. Okay. So what is this? Just like some sort of interactive book or something? How's my volume looking right now, actually? Because I'm a little bit more on par. Let me just crank it up just a wee bit. There we go. Hopefully the volume is good. There's nobody here watching, I don't think. I don't know, I've got my viewers hidden because I'm trying to focus on doing this for fun.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Ooh, grim, okay. What do you foresee in your future? During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. Okay, so we've stepped down a little bit from the Elder Scroll, but okay. Oh. Oh, what? Okay, so I'm not able to move at all. I'm literally just... Okay, so this is my range of vision. This is my area, my no-enter zone. What's this?
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
You know, as somebody who's very close with people who have struggled with this kind of thing, I'm going to go with the traditional and probably typically expected answer of, please, God, don't do it.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
I never said such a thing.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Sensing that you have gone through some shit. It's also worth mentioning, I have never read Dagon. I've read a few of I've more listened audiobook form. I have the Necronomicon on Audible, which is the complete collection of H.P. Lovecraft's tale. I'm a huge fan of the Cthulhu mythos. Not so much Lovecraft himself. He was a bit of a I don't have an appropriate word, so I'm not going to say one. But his stories were phenomenal. Okay, so we're dealing with morphine addiction, and what's the quirk? Okay. Find the first piece of trivia. Okay, so the question marks are trivia. Noted. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War I. Probably very effective. It was also sold without restrictions. Oh, that was... I didn't know that. I knew morphine was a popular medicine. I didn't realize it was sold without restrictions. Lord. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick Seeckert, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god of dreams. Yes, I knew that. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem. Which makes sense because they didn't exactly have good mental programs for dealing with PTSD at the time. Yeah, I can read my trivia later.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Okay, so wait, hold on. People at Cargo, man. That was the worst impression I could have done. Gunfire off the starboard bow!
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Okay, so World War I, because that was the only war that I know of that was known as the Great War. Also, I just realized I forgot to grab my coffee. So this is going to be kind of a point-and-click type game is the vibe I'm getting.
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Oh, that's what he meant. Is there like an... Hold on, I gotta see. Is there like just an auto process I can go through? No, I don't want to invert. Nobody plays with inverted controls. Why is that still an option? Okay. I think that's good. If the game's a little bit dark, I think it's fine. But if I need to tweak the gamma, just let me know in the comments. The Huns were Central Asian nomads. Well, I mean, yeah, everyone knows that, right? Established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. Fun fact about the Huns as well, they were actually a delight to be around if you were not at war with them. There was a record that I read way back when. I can't remember. It might have been a Gaelic soldier. It might have been a Roman soldier. I can't remember. But he spent some time in Attila the Hun's home. He spent time with his family. And he actually had a blast and a half of it despite being a prisoner, which I thought was really cool. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans. What? Okay, we're popping across the world a little bit. In order to emphasize their brutality. There's the explanation. I just had to read 3 words later. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on the 27th of July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter shall be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whatever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way to China, that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the law and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. Oh, gee, breaking international war laws. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, too topical. I did not know that ahead of time. That complete accident. Oh, God have mercy.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Okay, actually, hold on. I don't know about you guys. The gamma is just a bit... Okay, that might be a bit much. Hang on. No, get to the... That should do. Okay, that feels better. That feels a lot better. Oh, hi there. Cannonball!
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Okay, so am I the only one who finds it impressive that he's able to determine a rough approximation of his location just by the sun and stars? Because if this was me, just kerplunking about middle of nowhere, I wouldn't have a clue where I am unless I got the information beforehand. That's impressive.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Wow, there really is nothing. I could not imagine being stuck in a boat like this for, like, days, weeks, maybe even months, with such a limited supply. That one just stressed me the hell out. Granted, the scenario today actually is incredibly stressful. I'm sorry I keep getting back on the current world events, but me and my wife had a big talk about things yesterday, and or last night I should say, and I'm feeling the stress.
Neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Ooh, that's a good line.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Oh! Oh, what in God's name? Am I just on an island of ink? What, is Bendy gonna come running out of the corner there? Which is probably another game I actually should play.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see. And in which my
not the
boat lay
undulations.
grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air, and in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Oh my. Oh my. Okay. Wow. Not the undulation of the tentacles, by the way. Lord on high. I might be sick.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might, nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
What is that? Hey, Mystic Pixie, welcome to the stream. So glad you're here. I feel like I know who this is. A certain friend of mine who got married within the last couple years, which, now that I say that, could describe two of my friends. I'm pretty sure I know who this is. I don't want to say your name in case I'm right. Actually, no, I should be safe to say your first name. That should be Ashley, right? That should be one of my oldest friends, Ashley, who I lost touch with over the last couple years. And if I'm totally wrong, feel free to judge me. Oh, it is indeed you. Okay, I feel better about myself. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, Whoa is right. Oh, why is it all wiggly? So I'm playing Dagon, which is a game, basically a point and click. Oh, the flounder's gonna make me sick. Based on H.P. Lovecraft.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Oh, my heart and
That
soul.
night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea.
Good
and
idea.
Possible rescue.
Good idea. Oh, the tentacles are still wiggling. Oh, that's an image. Hold on. I'm going to screenshot that because wow, that is intense. Okay.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Yeah, bigger fish to fry, so to speak. Just finished movie. Woo! Congratulations! Is it a new apartment, or did you guys buy a house, or... That's where I'm streaming from. My wife and I, we bought a house a couple years ago, and that's where I am now. So congratulations on the move. We left the state. You're not in Virginia anymore? Ah, poo. Like, genuinely, I'm sorry to hear that, but also, if memory serves, I'm going to adjust my mic because I think I'm peaking a little bit. Renting a house in, you know, I was going to say Oklahoma because I remember you having family there and spending summers there back when we were in high school. But hey, knowing you, you picked out a lovely little spot in Oklahoma to live, and I just really hope that you and Sky are doing great and that you're happy. And I miss you, Ash. We're gonna have to figure out some time to like chat on Discord and catch up at some time or something. In the meantime, I'm in fishy hell right now. Holy. One of my brothers is renting with us. Oh, that's so cool.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation
The hell's a
on the
hummock?
rolling desert.
What the hell's a hummock? And what in God's name am I looking at? What is that slightly to the left that I'm not able to put my crosshair on? It looks almost like I don't know. That's concerning as well. That could be like some deep sea monster arm. Okay. Oh, squid head. Maybe that's a squid. But why the claw? I think I may have made a mistake. I'm gonna do a soft rectification. That's a whale. That's a whale or a mosasaur. Don't know which one I'd prefer. We're gonna swap to water because this is getting me a little woozy. Famous last words. Oh God, what am I looking? Okay, it is a whale. Okay, sorry dinosaurs. Maybe next game. Oh my heart and soul. This is intense. Again, I've never read Dagon. I've read a couple of other stories by Lovecraft. Oh my heart. Oh my soul.
That night I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Sora love. Ah, that's a clever way to call your husband Sky.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
I don't know much.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night.
I can imagine.
Ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain. I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okay. Is his gamer
said
tag?
that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Well, whatever.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Okay.
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Well, at least we're not pulling a Batman and just leaping off the edge. Sora loves it.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me, an object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
What did I get myself into? Sora loves H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, so H.P. Lovecraft, he was really good at setting the atmosphere and tone, and as someone who aspires to be a writer himself, it is up. Got that hydration. What was I saying? You interrupted me with hydration. It is something that I consecutive freaking bots. How do I? Okay, hang on. Let me take a moment so see if I could just block. There we go. Report channel. Where is the problem? It's in my chat. Why are you submitting this report? I love how if you look on Twitch, the very first option for submitting a report is terrorism. Let me think. Spam. All right, sorry, I had to take a little break. I'm not nearly big enough to consider having mods just yet, so I got to do all this stuff on my own. There we go. And Shaggy Worm is in the chat. Hey, Shaggy! Mr. Lover. They are... Love the band hammer. Yeah, I got to drop the hammer. You want me to put the hammer down? JD. Yes, JD. Hey, I have been out of it for so long, I have totally forgotten how to recognize my friends by their tags. I have several. Oh, that's right. I forgot you're a streamer too. In fact, I'm going to have to check your channel out after this because I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I'm following you, but I haven't gotten notifications, so I don't know. Anyway, back to my creepy daymare. Playing the stream in the background. I appreciate that, JD. Thank you.
Piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
Is it though?
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Yeah, think.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
I can. They're all bad. They're all bad sensations of terrible nightmares from the depths. If the rotting squid and fish and whale carcasses along the way were not enough to fill you with.
Despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
You know, I'm examining your surroundings fairly closely. Not very closely, but fairly. Not a lot going on here, dude. Except a whole bunch of signs telling you to get the hell out. Oh!
Now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Oh, look, there's little sharks and other things. I see a sea turtle. That right there, that is a sea turtle, and it is the only source of comfort in this weird time. Are those fish people? Are those mer folk? Is that what I'm seeing on this little row here? It's just a bunch of mer people. I also know from in Lovecraft's mythology, Dagon had a wife. I think it was Leviathan, but I'm probably wrong. Hold on, let me see. Let me actually look that up real quick. Dagon's wife. I'm pretty sure it was Leviathan. No, that's Canaanite. I want Lovecraft. Oh, Mother Hydra. I was very wrong. Okay, so Mother Hydra is the wife of Dagon, and I'm wondering if she's going to make an appearance. I have terrible thoughts.
Writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness, the nameless city. Oh, I love the Mountains of Madness. That was a good one. Journals and character notes. Shadow Out of Time, The Haunter of the Dark. Islands emerging from the ocean. Call of Cthulhu. I feel like everyone knows that one. Or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, like Migo in The Whisperer in the Darkness. It is also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also concluded in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details to avoid spoilers. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's another thing as well. On this particular game, Dagon actually was a Canaanite god. I cannot remember what he was. You know what? Let's take a look at that. Dagon's deific domain. Dagon's realm. I don't want to know about his realm. Oh no, that's still Lovecraft. Can I look it up efficiently? No, I don't want to know Dagon's wife. I know his wife. Dagon's domain expansion. Oh, he's a Jujutsu Kaisen character as well. Well, that doesn't help me at all. Well, screw it. We're not going to find out. I'll have to do that another time.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint, grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background, for one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Okay, so new MonsterVerse monster just dropped. Oh my gosh, these drawings and carvings are disturbing. That one, the one on the west, if we are to imagine a compass of heads here, the one to the west especially is just wigging me out.
awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist. I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
What?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Whoosh!
Human-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then.
I think I went mad then.
Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
I can imagine so. That is not the kind of memory that you want to hold on to. Oh, everything's hazy. Oh, everything's wild. Oh, let's get the fuck out of here.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
What? I'm going nuts. Honey, I think I'm going crazy.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Oh, we going wild right now.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Probably the smartest thing you've done all game. Oh, and we got the cross right there, which is awesome. But yikes. Okay, so that was Dagon we just saw, right? That was Dagon that just jumped. No, that couldn't have been Dagon. That couldn't have been, because it was like the humanoid things. Oh, I'm confused. I'm gonna need like a literary analysis later.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Oh, I thought he was Canaanite. Ah, maybe I'm wrong. The Philistines. Yeah, no, the Philistines and the Canaanites were two different cultures, I believe. Don't quote me on that, because I'm probably wrong. What's this? Dagon was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crop. There's his deific domain. I just had to give the game about 30 minutes. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The ruler of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquest. He also appeared as the judge. Hold on, wait. Wait a minute. Sorry, I just got a flashback. Has anybody seen the whole VeggieTales Jonah the Prophet movie? Oh God, I went to Bible college and I can't remember squat about the story, but I remember that the city he was trying to go to was a big worshiper of Dagon, and which the VeggieTale movie manifested as fish slapping. Nineveh, that was the city, Nineveh. I can't remember if Nineveh was, but if Dagon was just whatever. He's often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the ocean. He's worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. That's actually pretty darn cool. So, fertility and grain, not fish really, but Lovecraft kind of mixed it up. I wonder then if VeggieTales went with the H.P. Lovecraft connection intentionally, because it would be just funnier, because I mean, slapping people with fish, I imagine, is not going to hurt as much as slapping people with, like, whippy stems of grain. Or, you know, if you want to go with the other part of his deific domain of fertility, probably best not to go there. Let's keep going.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
The Necronomicon? Whoa! August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company Arkham House. Arkham! Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misinterpreted in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Which makes sense because Cthulhu mythos, it's easy to market. If your goal is to sell you're gonna make it as appealing as possible. Calling it a mythos definitely would have done that. But still, why is there a random Necronomicon just in the canonicity of the short story and this video game? Hang on. Where's the next dot? Where's the next dot? It's the clock. Is there anything else? No, I guess not. Please don't look at me that way, ma'am. I'm spoken for. I have a ring on my finger to prove it. Okay, wait, I come here. Is there something? No, there's no more trivia. That's weird. Who are you? Who are you supposed to be? Are you just like some generic bust? Or are you actually somebody I should probably know? I don't know. Moving on!
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave.
Oh, not good.
So now, I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Oh no! Oh no! Flag on the play. We're not sewer sliding our way out of this mortal coil. On tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco. Really? Even though he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult, in his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleine, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. Gonna ignore the implications of that. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13th century, 1928, February. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and never intend to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate nature, equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Was this just normal talk for the time, or was Lovecraft, like, extraordinarily pretentious? Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will, I am rather in favor of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as of any other. Well then, he really wouldn't like politics modern day, would he? And then there's the source at the bottom. Okay. Wild. Okay. So personally, I'm very anti-tobacco myself. I've got some childhood trauma where I lost my grandfather because of tobacco usage, and that was a thing. I'm not going to dump my trauma on online. But I mean, come on. Alcohol, you never even tried it. How can you be against it if you haven't? Well, actually, I should be very careful with that argument, because the same could be applied to crack cocaine. I'm very much against that, and I've never had it, so...
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm.
Could have been!
A mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat, after my escape from the German man of war.
Could have been.
This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply.
Uh-oh.
I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Okay, so New York City's being attacked by a whole fleet of Spinosaurus. Spinosauruses? I don't know. Okay.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Hang on, I also just realized
It shall not find me. God, that hand! The window! The window!
well, goodbye, world. I'm Batman. Oh, the squish! Oh, the squish was so bad. From madness to oblivion. Oh, I only got how in God's name is there another like 60% of trophies? Hold on, I gotta see this. Oh, DLC, that makes more sense. Find half? I didn't even find half? I'm sorry. No, I don't. What? Little glass bottle. What? What? There's DLC.
I hate the moon. I am afraid of it. For when it shines on certain scenes familiar and loved, it sometimes makes them unfamiliar and hideous.
Am I in a desert?
It was in the spectral summer when the moon shone down on the old garden where I wandered. The spectral summer of narcotic flowers and humid seas of foliage that bring wild and many-colored dreams.
Hang on, I just realized. There we go. Sorry, I just realized that my my PC audio was out, which if I get an alert, I'm gonna need that on to hear it. What in the? Okay, so that was only a third, I assume. Oh, that don't look inviting. Wait, does that mean? So, are the DLC just?
As I walked by the shallow crystal stream, I saw unwanted ripples tipped with yellow light, as if those placid waters were drawn on in restless currents to strange oceans that are not in the world.
I'm pretty sure that's just the moon, my friend. Oh, this is so enchanting, though. Purple has always been my favorite color, and the use of it here just kind of paints it as like this. Was that a skull in the flower? Is that those are I'm not crazy, right? Those are just straight up skulls in the middle of that flowers. Well, forget everything I just said a moment ago. This is horrifying.
Silent and sparkling, bright and baleful, those moon-cast waters hurried I knew not whither, whilst from the empowered banks, white lotus blossoms fluttered one by one in the opiate night wind, and dropped despairingly into the stream, swirling away horribly under the arched carven bridge, and staring back with the sinister resignation of calm, dead faces.
Mission accomplished, developer. You definitely painted skulls on the flowers.
And as I ran along the shore, brushing sleeping flowers with heedless feet, and maddened ever by the fear of unknown things and the lure of the dead faces, I saw that the garden had no end under that moon.
Oh. Oh, delightful. Okay. So, isn't there like an SCP with the same concept of another ending garden once you get it? No, that's an IKEA.
Where
My bad.
by day the walls were, there stretched now only new vistas of trees and paths, flowers and shrubs, stone idols and pagodas, and bendings of the yellow-litten stream past grassy banks and under grotesque bridges of marble. And the lips of the dead lotus faces whispered sadly and bade me to follow.
Brother, when lilies start baiting you to follow, your best bet is to run in the opposite direction. Don't ask how I know that, just trust that I know.
Nor did I cease my steps till the stream became a river, and joined amidst marshes of swaying reeds and beaches of gleaming sand, the shore of a vast and nameless sea.
Oh, hey, there's a bird. This is so cool. The level designer needs a raise, because this is just eerie and I love it.
Upon that sea the hateful moon shone, and over its unvocal waves weird perfumes brooded. And as I saw therein the lotus faces vanish, I longed for nets that I might capture them and learn from them the secrets which the moon had brought upon the night.
This is so weird. The squelch!
But when the moon went over to the west, and the still tide ebbed from the sullen shore, I saw in that light old spires that the waves almost uncovered.
Almost.
White columns gay with festoons of green seaweed. And knowing that to this sunken place all the dead had come, I trembled and did not wish again to speak with the lotus faces.
You shouldn't have spoke with them the first time, you ding-dong. Oh my gosh. Well, there go the lotus faces.
Yet when I saw afar out in the sea a black condor descend from the sky to seek rest on a vast reef, I would fain have questioned him and asked him of those whom I had known when they were alive. This I would have asked him had he not been so far away, but he was very far, and could not be seen at all when he drew nigh that gigantic reef.
Alright, well, bye-bye, birdie. Where am I? Oh, yeah, that seems safe to climb.
So I watched the tide go out under that sinking moon, and saw gleaming the spires, the towers, and the roofs of that dead, dripping city. And as I watched, my nostrils tried to close against the perfume-conquering stench of the world's dead.
Are we uncovering Relay? Are we uncovering the home of Cthulhu, Relay?
For truly, in this unplaced and forgotten spot, had all the flesh of the churchyards gathered for puffy sea worms to
No.
gnaw and glut upon. Over those horrors, the evil moon now hung very low. But the puffy worms of the sea need no moon to feed by. And as I watched the ripples that told of the writhing of worms beneath, I felt a new chill from afar out, whither the condor had flown, as if my flesh had caught a horror before my eyes had seen it.
Yeah, I believe that is not good.
Nor had my flesh trembled without cause, for when I raised my eyes, I saw that the waters had ebbed very low, shewing much of the vast reef whose rim I had seen before. And when I saw that this reef was but the black basalt crown of a shocking icon, whose monstrous forehead now shone in the dim moonlight, and whose vile hooves must pour the hellish ooze miles below, I shrieked and shrieked, lest the hidden face rise above the waters, and lest the hidden eyes look at me after the slinking away of that leering and treacherous yellow moon. And to escape this relentless thing, I plunged gladly and unhesitatingly into the stinking shallows.
Don't do it, the worms! No! Oh, you idiot! Oh, God. This is viscerally uncomfortable, and I'm not a fan.
And amidst weedy walls and sunken streets, fat sea worms feast upon the world's dead.
Oh my gosh, that just thoroughly unsettled me in the worst way possible. So that wasn't Relay. Was that Shub Niggurath at the end there? The black goat? No, Shub Niggurath. Hold on. Shub Niggurath, that's not the black goat, is it? Yeah, no, that was. Was that like an artistic representation of Shub Niggurath? That's my question. Because the antlers, you know, the black goat of the forest, that fed. Oh my gosh. This makes me realize how much more I've got to learn. So that was what the moon brings. We got two more. So I'm going to go ahead into the little glass bottle. The Railway Horror. Oh God. Okay. The Little Glass Bottle is a short story adaptation of a story by Howard Phillips Lovecraft, written when he was about 7 years old. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine being talented at 7 years old? Original words and spelling have been kept.
Heave to! There's something floating to the leeward. The speaker was a short, stockily built man whose name was
Oh, they got a
William
kid
Jones.
voicing. That's so cute.
He was the captain of a small catboat in which he and a party of men were sailing at the time the story opens.
During the game, you'll encounter... Okay, some of the trivia is in... Okay, so there is trivia in this one, but... Okay. The birth of the writer. H.P. Lovecraft was born August 20th. Really? My birthday is the 19th, so that's actually pretty darn cool. 9 a.m. in Providence, Rhode Island. The exact date when The Little Glass Bottle was written is unknown. Young Howard probably penned it in 1896 or 97. It was first published more than 20 years after his death as part of the anthology of The Shuttered Room and Other Pieces of 1959. Lovecraft himself regarded The Little Glass Bottle as a youthful attempt at a humorous story. Scans of the handwritten original can be viewed in the digital repository of the Brown University in Providence. That's really freaking cool. Okay, so where to now? Oh, there are people. So glad we expended the budget.
Answered John Towers, and the boat was brought to a standstill. Captain Jones reached out his hand for the object, which he now discerned to be a glass bottle. Nothing but a rum flask that the men on the passing boat threw over, he said, but from an impulse of curiosity, he reached out for it.
This is
It was a rum
adorable.
flask, and he was about to throw it away when he noticed a piece of paper in it. He pulled it out, and on it read the following. January 1st, 1864. I am John Jones, who writes this letter. My ship is fast sinking with the treasure on board. I am where it is marked on the enclosed chart. Captain Jones turned the sheet over.
Indiana
and on the side
Ocean.
was a chart. On the
Indian
edge
Ocean.
were written these words. Dotted lines represent course we took. Towers, said Captain Jones excitedly. Read this. Towers did as he was directed. I think it would pay to go, said Captain Jones. Do you? Just as you say, replied Towers. Well, charter a schooner this very day, said the excited captain. All right, said Towers.
This is just adorable.
So they hired a boat.
Yeah, this definitely reads like an advanced kid wrote it, but a kid nonetheless. This is still pretty sweet. I like this. This is a nice little break.
Started off governed by the dotted lines of the chart.
With the sun behind us and nothing but adventure ahead, I say tally-ho! Oh, the music! Oh, this is so pleasant!
In 4 weeks, they reached the place where directed.
Oh, it's a diving suit. I thought they murdered a man for a second. I'm like, well, there goes my friendly kid's tale. Okay.
And the divers went down.
Crazy to think how far technology has come, where these kinds of super weighted scuba suits are no longer necessary. Whoa. Fishy! Pardon me while my ADHD kicks in. Constantly. Fishies or sharkies? I hope fishies. I mean, I know fishies technically are sharkies, but still. Let's see, we got some coral, some seaweed, more coral, more what the fuck? Whipple Van Buren Phillips, Lovecraft's grandfather, was a very important figure in his life. As the writer said himself, my beloved grandfather became the center of my universe. Van Buren Phillips introduced his grandson to various works of art he brought from his travels, exchanged letters with him, and helped him develop his passions. He largely replaced Lovecraft's dead father. Interestingly, he also cured him of his fear of the dark by encouraging him to walk through a series of dark rooms. Young Howard's grandfather was probably the only family member to tell Lovecraft improvised mystery tales, which undoubtedly influenced his later work. Yeah, I would say so. I don't care for the eyes. You know how it goes. You stare long enough into the abyss and the abyss stares back. That's not supposed to be literal! Okay, there's a flask, a giant anchor. Is the abyss still staring? This almost makes me want to play Subnautica, not gonna lie. Okay, I got a flask.
And
What?
came up with an iron bottle. They found in it the following lines scribbled on a piece of brown paper.
Does it say the real treasure was the friends you made along the way?
December 3rd, 1880. Dear Searcher, excuse me for the practical joke I have played on you, but it serves you right to find nothing for your foolish act. Well, it does, said Captain Jones. Go on. However, I will defray your expenses to and from the place you found your body. I think it will be $250, so that amount you will find in an iron box. I know where you found the bottle, because I put this bottle here, and the iron box. And then found a good place to put the second bottle, hoping the enclosed money will defray your expenses some I close. Anonymous.
Oh, got trolled. There are a few puzzling elements in the little glass bottle. For example, the number 25.0.00, which is not a typo, as this amount appears in the text 3 times. It is not entirely clear why Lovecraft decided to write out the number this way and what he meant by it. Oh, if only someone could understand the mind of a 7-year-old. While publishers and translators interpret it in various ways, in our opinion, he most likely meant $250. The map used in the game replicates the original version drawn by Lovecraft for the story. Did you notice that the land marked on it is signed as Australia? I did. I didn't call it out, but I did. A simple typo. Or maybe young Howard was already creating his own lands in an unknown island in his imagination. It is also puzzling that the dates in the letter in both bottles are almost 17 years apart. Really? I didn't notice that. Huh.
I'd like to kick his head off, said Captain Jones. Here, Diver, go and get the $250.
Well, I'm guessing that's not the diver. Where's the next one? Oh, the helmet. Okay, well, iron chest ahoy!
In a minute, the diver came up bearing an iron box.
Every time I see that, I just imagine it's a decapitated person.
Inside it was found $250. It defrayed their expenses, but I hardly think that they will ever go to a mysterious place as directed by a mysterious bottle.
Ah, this was cute. This was very cute. Sea Dog! We hope you enjoyed this little trip into the world of Lovecraft's childhood. That was adorable! It was a nice little reprieve, too, because after Dagon, and the other one, what was it, What the Moon Brings, that was a nice little break. We got one more, which sounds the most ominous, the Railway Horror DLC. So we're gonna do this and probably end it there. This is not an official Lovecraft story, even though it may sound familiar to some of you. It is an excerpt from the writer's letter to his friend Donald Wandry from November 24th, 1927, in which he described one of his dreams, or rather, a nightmare.
My dreams occasionally approached the fantastical in character, though falling somewhat short of coherence. One scene is especially stamped upon my recollection. That of a dank, fetid, reed-choked marsh under a gray autumn sky.
I love the way you just said that. A dark, fetid, deep green marsh. Yes. Okay, we get the drift. We've played the thing. In letters to his friend Donald Wandry, Lovecraft described 2 of his dreams. After the writer's death, they were sold to the publisher of the Science Snap / Bizarre magazine and published in the form of short stories. The first one, titled The Very Old Folk, tells the story of one of the provinces of the Roman Republic and mysterious mountain inhabitants performing terrible rituals. The second one was titled The Thing in the Moonlight and was published in January 1941. Well, they picked the right story to go with just from the sound of it. So, fun fact for those of you guys who may not be aware, H.P. Lovecraft was horrendously racist. He was very much against, like, mixed couples and black people and native people and anybody who wasn't, like, white, basically. If you weren't white, and even then you had to be, like, upper living, modern New York City aristocratic type white person, or Rhode Island white, not like country white. Sorry, Ash. The second one was titled blah 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 blah. The publisher added a fabricated beginning and ending to it, in which Lovecraft, unable to free himself from the nightmare, mentally contacts a stranger. Other publishers later reprinted the story, unaware that some of the text was not authentic. It is this dream that we present here in its original form without the additions. Okay, good to know. Oh, that's a captain's hat. That's great. Okay, fetid swamp. No reason to be too concerned. Whoa. When did Ayers Rock get into being in the middle of the swamp? You know what? I'm going to
With
stop
a rugged
questioning.
cliff of lichen-crusted stone rising to the north.
You know, I would love to see the developer of this game take the art assets from this and make like a genuine like swamp themed horror game. I feel like this would work so well.
Impelled by some obscure quest, I ascended a rift, or cleft, in this beetling precipice.
What in God's name is that? I would almost say that looks like a car part, but I don't think we're in the right time frame or time era for that.
Noting as I did so the black mouths of many fearsome burrows extending from both walls into the depths of the stony plateau.
Whoa. Oh, am I looking up? Yeah, that makes more sense. Oh, God. The protagonist whose fate you follow is Lovecraft himself. After all, it is an account of his dream. That's why we wanted to reproduce his way of speaking and accent as faithfully as possible. Unfortunately, no recordings of his voice have survived. That's why we had to rely only on descriptions from numerous letters. Friends remember his voice as high-pitched, thin, and flat. However, it changed while reading or reciting. As the writer's wife, Sonia Green, recalls, his voice then became stronger, clearer, and deeply resonant. Lovecraft spoke with a New England accent, as the writer himself mentions, was characterized by the following. We don't sound any final R in words like car, far, and C. Phonetically, our common pronunciation is indistinguishable from ka, fa, ah. Gotcha. In his youth, Lovecraft tested his singing skills and even recorded some of his rehearsals. My mother actually liked the results. Mothers are not always unbiased critics, but I saw to it that an accident soon removed the incriminating evidence. Later, I tried something less ambitious. This was a better success, but reminded me so much of the way of a dying fox terrier that I very carelessly happened to drop the record, soon after it was made. I have since confined my artistic talents to literature. I transitioned into a weird southern accent halfway through that. I don't know. That's crazy to think about. Like, such a famous
At
person.
several points, the passage was roofed over by the choking of the upper parts of the narrow fissure. These places being exceedingly dark and forbidding the perception of such burrows as may have existed there. In one such dark space, I felt conscious of a singular accession of fright, as if some subtle and bodiless emanation from the abyss were engulfing my spirit. But the blackness was too great for me to perceive the source of my alarm.
Okay, this is not as creepy as the first two that I did.
At length, I emerged upon a tableland of moss-grown rock and scanty soil, lit up by a faint moonlight which had replaced the expiring orb of day. Casting my eyes about, I beheld no living object, but was sensible of a very peculiar stirring far below me amongst the whispering rushes of the pestilential swamp I had lately quitted.
No living thing in sight, and yet tree, distant tree, a tree. A mountain that probably has... Nope, there's another tree. Okay. Unless they're just dead trees, in which case I'll eat my words on that. Oh, a cross. That's not ominous under the moonlight in this scenario.
After walking for some distance, I encountered the rusty tracks of a street railway and the worm-eaten poles which still held the limp and sagging trolley wire.
You know what, guys, I know this might be a little crazy. Bear with me. I think that's a sign. I could be wrong, but I think it's a sign.
Following this line, I soon came upon a yellow vestibuled car numbered
That's not a train.
1852 of a plain double-trucked type common from 1900 to 1910.
This is train tracks. That's not a train.
It was untenanted, but evidently ready to start.
Is this going to become Choo Choo Charles? Is that what I'm to expect from this? Am I going to get in and then Choo Choo Charles is just going to come crashing over the hill there? Another game I need to play, but I know the context of. The railway has always fascinated people. The mighty power of machines, the freedom to travel vast distances, the romanticism of almost unrestricted exploration. Thousands of strangers passing each other every day. But also the desolate train stations, dreamlike journeys throughout the night, fatal accidents, and dangerous strangers. No wonder that this topic attracted horror and fantasy writers, from Charles Dickens' The Signalman, through Robert Bloch's award-winning That Hellbound Train, to Clive Barker's The Midnight Meat Train. The Midnight Meat Train! That sounds like something my wife would say in the middle of the night when... Never mind. Anyway... It's also impossible not to mention the most important Polish weird fiction writer, Stefan Grabinski, whose most famous collection of stories, The Motion Demon, is dedicated to the railway. You will be able to get acquainted with his work through our next... Oh, they're working on or they already have another game, I don't know. And by the way, the steam locomotive was first used to transport passengers in 1825. I wonder if it has anything to do with the number dreamed by Lovecraft. Probably, actually, because Lovecraft had a fear of technology as well as people that weren't, you know, New England white people.
The trolley being on the wire and the air brake pump now and then throbbing beneath the floor. I boarded it and looked vainly about for the light switch.
No light switch here. Don't like the look of the forest ahead. Ooh, what's this? Is that morphine?
Did so the absence of controller handle, which implied the brief absence of the motorman. Then I sat down in one of the cross seats toward the middle, awaiting the arrival of the crew and starting of the vehicle.
This is an interesting nightmare. I have expected this to be a little more visceral, but I guess not. Or not visceral, that's the wrong word to ascribe to any of Lovecraft's work. My cat is sleeping next to me. Oh, the kitty cat. My dog is out sleeping in the living room right now. I wish he would come in here and spend time with me, but no, he's got to have his spot on the couch.
Presently, I heard a swishing in the sparse grass toward the left and saw the dark forms of two men looming up in the moonlight. They had the regulation cap. Then one of them sniffed with singular sharpness and raised his face to howl at the moon. The other dropped on all fours to run toward the car. I leapt up and at once raced madly out of that car.
Okay, a little more leaping and a little more racing. There we go, that's better. Run! Run, Forrest, run! Oh, I forgot to check for clues. Crap.
And away across endless leagues of plateau till exhaustion waked me.
I don't see it behind us. I think we might be safe. Oh, God. That was disturbing, the way that man just leapt on all fours and started chasing.
Doing this not because the conductor had dropped on all fours, but because the face of the motorman was a mere white cone, tapering to one blood-red tentacle.
Oh. Oh, nope, that, not, oh, no. No. No, I do not consent. We hope you enjoyed this little journey into the world of Lovecraft's nightmares. That was a journey, all right. Not one I think I want to repeat. How did I miss 5 clues? How did I miss so many of these? How did I miss so much trivia? I'm in my cat's bed, so he joined me. I got a massive Snorlax beanbag in my cat. Oh, my heart and soul. I need a giant, like, I don't know if I'd go Snorlax. I'd probably go with Lapras, but, like, a giant Pokemon beanbag. I need to decorate my office a little bit more. So this weekend, I'll jump. Let me take the camera real quick. So I put in, that's a shelf you can't really see a lot, but I started doing a bunch of soundproofing so I can start doing like late night streams and voice acting work and other things when my daughter's asleep. But I also kind of want to nerd it up and do some cool decoration. Like I've got a shelf. You kind of caught a corner of that. I got a shelf right above my stuff now, which has some extra lights, which I would have used, but just a bit intense. That's kind of hard to work with that straight in my eyes, but yeah. So I've got some work to do in my office area. It's coming along. The fact that so my back panel right behind the camera is like wall to wall, the same soundproofing material that you can see behind over my left shoulder. It's not very expensive, but you have to fill it yourself, and you totally should. I'm gonna have to look into that. Admittedly, I am really nervous to be buying anything at this point, just because, like, with the tariff situation and kind of the whole thing going to crap, I'm not sure how much money I realistically want to put out. This game came out in September of 2024. How did I miss that? But I've got some Funko Pops and other plushies that I'm probably going to put up later today. I would like to get some more shelves in. So there's also my wife's little gardening station, because we're kind of sharing some of the office space right now. She's got her little gardening station there. That's got to get moved into the garage at some point, which will help me to, like, just get some stuff up on the wall. I really need to find my old ocarinas so I can get them hung up. But anyway, that was the game Dagon. I don't want to be done streaming, though. I probably should be, because I know I should be looking up other things so I can start, like, applying for voice acting work and stuff. You know what? I'll go ahead and I'll cut the stream for the time being, and I will go ahead and I might stream later tonight after I get my daughter to bed. We'll see. But thank you guys so much for tuning in and playing through Dagon with me. That was so cool. We got JD, we got Ashley, and I have averaged somewhere between 3 and 4 viewers, which, considering this is like my second week getting back into streaming, really means a lot to me that I've got people sticking around. I'm really doing this for fun. I'm not planning to make a career of this. Of course, if I got big enough, I absolutely would and get into content creation. But it really means a lot to me that people stuck around and watched me play this really weird / crazy game. I had no idea what I was getting into. It's not like a top game, but this absolutely was enjoyable. I'm pretty sure I got this either for free as part of some Cthulhu pack. So if you have the chance to experience it yourself, I would recommend it. I'm probably going to replay it a little bit just so I can get all the trivia and get the platinum on this, because it feels like an easy game to platinum. But anyway, I'm drawing on and I'm drawing far too much. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. One last hydrate for the road. You know what? Hold on. We're going to hydrate. We're going to hydrate right. Here's looking at you, JD. Whew, okay. I cannot do all of that in one go. Who do you think I am? Thor? But I did get most of it though, so. Anyway, I'll see you guys in another stream. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, looking forward to seeing y'all next time. But until then, everybody, stay blessed.